Hi friends, welcome to CodeNet, and today we want to understand on how we can implement a comment inside a JavaScript document or inside the JavaScript code that has been implemented inside the HTML document. So all we need to understand is a comment is simply the code that is not shown on the browser. It is meant for the source code. Only the person that is looking visually and of course directly to the source code can see what comments are and why they were implemented. There are of course key things that we need to understand when the JavaScript is inside the HTML document, and the very important key thing is a comment of JavaScript can only be implemented in between the element which is called script, the element as elements of HTML. The syntax and the actual comments of JavaScript can't be implemented outside the script as simply the element of HTML, which denotes that the things that are in between are JavaScript based. Hence, since also comments, the actual comments we want to learn now are JavaScript based, they also need to be in between the elements of script as an element of HTML. So how can we implement a comment, things that are not executed or shown on the browser? There are two types of comments. The very first comment that we can implement is called a single line comment. Now we implement a single line comment following the syntax of two consecutive forward slashes when we do that, and then we can say, okay, I want to implement a comment because I know it won't be shown on the browser. So I can say, okay, now passing the greetings. So this is a comment and it is called a single line comment. Another comment that we can implement, we'll see the benefits of doing so, of having comments when it comes to JavaScript, is simply a comment which is called a multi-line comment. Now we implement a multi-line comment by following the syntax. Don't forget also a multi-line comment should be in between the script as simply the element of HTML, which denotes that we are now working with JavaScript, meaning the content in between the script element are JavaScript based. If it was on the .js file, on an external JavaScript file, or since it is definitely .js, then we can implement any comment anywhere. Unlike here, because this is an HTML based document and the JavaScript is internally inside the HTML document, meaning the codes and everything related to comments and any JavaScript statement should be in between the script as an element of HTML. So a multi-line comment is implemented using the syntax, of course, a forward slash and a multiplication sign, again a multiplication sign and a forward slash. Now the content in between, since it is multi-line comment, then it means we can even implement a paragraph while we want to explain the content that are inside the comment which is a multi-line comment. So I can say, okay, here we are making enter a dialog box using window dot alert as a display method. If we go on our browser, let's go on our browser. Definitely when we go on our browser and refresh the actual browser, we'll just see, okay, since we've implemented of course the window.alert as a method from our previous session, I'm doing very fine. Immediately we do that, we won't see anything related to the comments that we have implemented. Why? Well, it's because comments are meant for the source code. So from now, you can even start asking yourself questions. Okay, then what's the need of having the comments? If they are not shown on the browser, then what's the use? Imagine if you were maybe working on a certain project, a huge code which will maybe be used for you to launch a certain website, maybe to say, and then think of that code as simply the code that you were working on 3 years ago, and then you just realize, okay, there is a code that I need to implement. I started working on that project some years ago. Well, definitely you can even forget what you were thinking when you were doing some codes as you were implementing the past 3 years if you start working on the actual code right now. So that is the use of comments. Comments can be used if we want to be reminded of what needs to be worked on and of the things that we were working on the time when we were working on a certain project. Like for me, if I just see, okay, now passing the greetings, then definitely I will see that, oh yeah, in the next line, I sent something using inner HTML, which was simply a greeting, which is, hi, how are you? Another use of comments you can of course denote. Imagine if you have a group task, maybe you are working on a certain project as a group, so of course maybe you are the one of course starting the actual work, so immediately you implement something. I mean, it might be important for you to implement a comment, because when you send the actual source code for your friend to realize what you are doing, I mean, he or she should read the comments. Okay, here we are making a dialog box using window.alert as a display method, so the other person seeing the source code, the other person that will be working on the actual program that you are also working on, the actual project, will understand that, okay, the next thing under this comment is simply a dialog box which was implemented using the window.alert as simply a method of doing the display in JavaScript. So this is how we can implement a comment. Another use of comments are, a comment can be used when you want to eliminate certain line of code. Let's say you don't want to have, of course, the window.alert as simply the display method. When we go on our browser, you will see that when you refresh, we will see the window.alert as simply a display. Okay, this page says I'm doing very fine. Immediately we do okay, then we will see the actual content of the web page. But imagine if you say, okay, I don't want to display that dialog box. Instead of deleting the actual code, you delete and do the deletion and anything related to that. We can use again a comment. I'm doing Ctrl-Z to return, of course, the actual code. We can use, of course, a comment to debug, or should I just say to remove the actual statement which we want to remove from the actual display on the browser. Immediately when we go on the browser, Ctrl-S to save if your document is not on autosave, and we refresh, we won't see the actual thing that we were seeing. No dialog box has been displayed. So this is the actual importance and use of comments. They can be used to remind we ourselves of what we were doing at that time when we were implementing the code. They can again be used when we want to send the code to someone else, and then the other person to understand what we were doing, they need to review the comments. Again, they can be used when we want to debug, or when we want to remove certain statements from the actual code that we have implemented. So this is how we implement, of course, a single line comment and a multi-line comment. A multi for multiple lines of code, or should I just say for a paragraph, and then a single line comment. If we start implementing codes down here, this won't be regarded as a comment and it will be an error. Let's progress on our next session as we understand more on the content that needs to make a full course of a JavaScript. Please don't forget to subscribe, and you are on CodeNet.